not personally like that, but it's cool that, we've played 7 games and 3 of them, one of our linemen have gotten recognition for that. It speaks a lot to the quality of our line. We played well. I mean, rusher over 300 yards, 7 plus a carry, only 1 negative run. That's pretty, stats to be proud of. There's a lot that we can still clean up, a lot to improve on, but I think we had a good game.
When you watch the film, is the coaching staff praising those numbers that you mentioned, or is it kind of more about the things that come up?
But I mean, that's what you expect, and that's what I mean, when I watch the film, I'm very critical, and I almost make my own skin crawl just looking at it, because I'm like, what if I, got my hand inside, or what if I got my second step down faster, things like that. Because you see those opportunities when you're, a person that wants to continue to get better. You don't just sit there and pat yourself on the back for what you did well. But at the end of the day, you do have to be kind of like, all right, we're doing a good job, a lot to get better at, a lot I can get better at. But I'm proud of what we've done so far.
Jalen and Nick have both acknowledged there's quite a bit of pressure on him as a quarterback, causing trouble back there. I guess, what did y'all see from that, and what was the issue for some of the pass protection issues?
There's a lot of things. It's kind of like, you go to Krispy Kreme, you want to surprise your daughter, you get her some donuts, you bring them home, and she's like, I don't need donuts. I'm gluten-free now, And it's like, but I was trying to surprise you. I was trying to, whatever. There's some things that are just like, you don't prepare for. We think that they're going to come out, play cover 7, P coverage underneath that, rush 3, drop 8, and block all day. First, third down, we come out. We're going to, be in the 6-man protection. We should be fine. They mug up 7 guys. We're like, okay, well, they're going to drop some. Bring 7, you're hot off 1, you got to throw it away.
Welcome back. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, brought to you each and every day here live by Lindsay & Associates, with locations in Rogers, locations also too in Fayetteville. Lindsay & Associates, we bring great neighbors together. Also brought to you by Locomotion. You can catch them just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall here in Fayetteville. And lastly, Fun City. You can catch them off the 412 bypass in Springdale, Arkansas. And as we always like to remind you, for those that don't get a chance to catch us on our live stream from Monday through Friday 1 and 2, catch us on iHeartRadio as we podcast each and every day's top segment of the On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Show on iHeartRadio. And as always, we like to give you the games leading up to the games. And we're going to take a trip back down to a good place I like to catch up with my buddy of Touchdown Alabama, Stephen M. Smith. Stephen, welcome to the Hill, my brother.
Happy to be back, man. October's rolling on by. We're getting that real fall weather now.
Absolutely. Here in Fayetteville, it's getting a little, the leaves are falling. You can kind of tell football, when it means something in November, is kind of, creeping up on us. But I want to recap real quick that Arkansas game. What did you take away from that ball game, 41-9, expected victory, homecoming win for Alabama? What's the one thing you walked out of Bryant-Denny, that was real tops on your mind?
Number one, Damian Harris is for real. Damian Harris, a big-time running back in the Southeastern Conference. A lot of Crimson Tide fans felt like, especially after the way Bo Scarborough emerged down the stretch last season, that he would carry that same energy and passion into this year. And he probably still very well can. Could possibly be, more of that second half back, remembering the fact that Bo Scarborough didn't quite get going last year until the Tennessee game. Of course, this upcoming week, the Tide takes on the Volunteers. But Damian Harris has been unbelievable. 625 yards rushing through 7 games on 68 carries. He's got 9 touchdowns. He's third in the SEC in both rushing yards and touchdowns, while being first in the conference in yards per rush attempt, averaging 9.2 yards per rush attempt. So Damian Harris is for real. That's number one. But number two, Arkansas's quarterback, Cole Kelly. Y'all continue to work with that kid. That boy can be something nice in the years to come. Cole Kelly at 6'7", 270 pounds. That man looks like when he was a kid, his mama was feeding him stimulant fried chicken. Because that is a big dude. When he was a kid, that boy was probably eating fried chicken, collard greens, and drinking Kool-Aid out of a mason jar. And probably had some cornbread with that. So Cole Kelly, big dude, he's got an arm, was able to make some plays down the stretch. And even though he had to throw 42 passes against Alabama, Arkansas's run game non-effective in that matchup, of those 42 pass attempts, he had some throws, Pat, where when the Razorbacks gave him time, he was able to find some open receivers. Now, granted, he's not Austin Allen. Brett Bielema, Dan Enos would love to have Austin Allen back 100%, but if this injury should prolong itself, Cole Kelly can give you something very special for years to come.
Talking with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama, talking Alabama Crimson Tide football with Stephen here on the Hill with Pat Jenkins each and every week. Stephen, I want to get into Tennessee. If there's one thing, either on the offensive or defensive side of the football, that concerns Coach Nick Saban versus Tennessee, what's the one thing that through the press conferences and media availability, both from he and players, what's the thing they seem to all talk about heading up, with Tennessee coming in this weekend?
I mean, how much this is a competitive game, Pat. I mean, let's keep in mind, you take away a Hail Mary pass from Felipe Franks to Tyree Cleveland against Florida, and if Tennessee scores one touchdown against South Carolina, we're talking about a 5-1 Volunteers team versus a 3-3 group. So, Tennessee, very competitive ball club. You look at John Kelly, who's a dynamic running back. I think he's got 552 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns, if that stat serves correctly. Very good in between the tackles, tremendous in open space, can break through wimpy tacklers, does a great job showcasing that vision. A wide receiver there is Mark. What's that?
Go ahead, Steve.
I was saying, and then after that, you look at, a guy like Marquez Callaway, probably the only Callaway that's doing something this year, Antonio Callaway of Florida, 5 felony charges. But Marquez Callaway, a big-time receiver, and, just trying to be able to slow down the attack of Jarrett Guntano at quarterback. Understandably, he's a redshirt freshman, but he had some plays last week against South Carolina that really stood out to me, especially on that final drive. Though Tennessee did not score, Guntano made some plays. So when you look at the media talk this week from not only just the coaching staff where Alabama is concerned, but also the players, not overlooking Tennessee. This is a very competitive team. They're going to come out hungry. And 2 years ago, I remember this game at Bryant-Denny. This was a close game. Alabama won 19-14, but there was a moment in that game in the fourth quarter where Tennessee carried a 14-13 lead when Jalen Hurd scored that touchdown. So Bama very aware of that. They know how competitive Butch Jones and this group is.
Talking with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. This show is brought to you by Lindsay & Associates, also to Locomotion and Fun City. My last question to you, Stephen, before I let you go, we got about a minute left. What sets Coach Nick Saban apart from all the other coaches throughout the SEC with being able to have the ability to keep his team each and every week, regardless if it's ranked or a non-ranked opponent, to play at that high level? I mean, Stephen, you look at it, Clemson goes down, Auburn goes down, Oklahoma went down several weeks ago, Washington. What's the difference in Nick being able to push all those buttons the way that he does?
I think it's his preparation, Pat. Nick is so worried about not being prepared that Nick over prepares. He wants to make sure that everybody on this team knows you can get beaten on any given day, any given week, any given time. So you have to be on your A game. So I believe it's Nick and his ability to prepare to the fullest extent to make sure that his guys are not getting anything to sneak up on them.
Well, as always, my man, we love having you on. I know you get to take a week off a week from Saturday before you guys take on the LSU Tigers, but thanks for taking time out on the Hill, Stephen, and you have a blessed day, my brother.
I appreciate it. You put Big D to the same.
All right. That was Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama, giving us the 411 on Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide each and every week. We just love having all of the information from all our different media outlets throughout the SEC. But we caught up with tight ends coach Barry Lunney Jr. Barry was talking really about a lot of different things, the production of his tight ends at that position. And I believe we have audio with Coach Lunney. I think, I know my producer, Demetrius, he doesn't miss out on a lot. But, when you go back to what Coach Lunney said, we're going to let you hear what Barry had to say.
Catch a contested ball like that in that situation. It's one of his strengths is running a route and catching the ball. So he did a good job. CJ played his most significant action that he's played since he's been here. He played close to 40-something snaps and did some good things. He was inconsistent. And so we certainly got to play better as a unit for us to win a game in our league. And we know that. We're stressing that. We're coaching it hard. And I think our guys are on board with that.
Jeremy coming along this week.
Yeah, I think he's going to be. All things are positive right now. He's getting better each day. Matt and the staff are doing a really good job. But he's all in now. Treatment. He's doing everything he can possibly do. That's tough for a guy to go out on a Wednesday. I know he was disappointed to not be able to get in there and compete. And obviously, we'd have liked to have him, but he wasn't near ready to play. And so hopefully, he'll be more ready to play this Saturday.
CJ started off really strong. It just seemed like he was climbing, but it's been a little bit since he's had a real big play. How do you guys keep him into it?
Well, we didn't have many big plays overall last week. That was part of it. And then, the week before we got off to a real rough start there. And he came back and certainly played. Beyond the mistake they made, the first play of the game or second play of the game against South Carolina. And so, I think Trey, as we've all learned over the years, it's hard to really try to. If you start pressing those things and try to force them, they just kind of happen in the flow of the game. Some of his plays early in the year came on screens. Certainly people are, to a degree probably not wise enough to that, but, there's some tendencies there, so we're trying to break tendencies and whatnot. So I just think if he just keeps playing, if all those guys keep playing, that opportunities will certainly, hopefully come to him.
That was Arkansas tight ends coach Barry Lunney talking a little bit about what they have to do at the tight end position, to have more success this Saturday versus the Auburn Tigers. And Donald W. Reynolds kickoff set for 6:30 on Saturday night. That game will be shown live. You can catch it on the SEC Network. But we're going to step away, get a quick break. Then we're going to change the gears on you and move it to a little what they call the fastest 40. Arkansas and Coach Anderson, Daryl Macon, and Jalen Barford made their way down to Nashville earlier today for a little SEC men's basketball media day. We'll let you hear the interview and what Coach Anderson and Jalen and Daryl had to say about this upcoming season. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins. Back in a moment.